People often ask me, what can you tell me? What success stories you can tell me about the way you've treated people that have been sick? And that's a fair question because, there's all kinds of people out there that are professing to be really smart in health. And I can understand that question. So I'm going to answer you this way. I remember vividly 3 outstanding cases of very severe sickness that we treated in our clinic, and the results of our treatment was nothing short of spectacular. So I want you to listen very carefully about what I'm going to say to you. One of the worst cases of psoriasis, Psoriasi, one of the worst cases of psoriasis was a lady who was in her late 50s, and she'd been suffering from psoriasis from a very young age. And she was watching the television, and I happened to be on TV that night talking about certain foods, and she was flicking the channels, and she saw this particular channel. She saw me speaking, and she was fascinated by what I was saying. And she said to herself, this man knows what he's doing. So she rang the TV channel, and she asked for my phone number. So the TV channel obliged, and they gave the number, and this lady rang my wife and my business partner, and lo and behold, spoke to my wife for nearly an hour. And she was extremely suspicious, despite the fact she saw me speak on TV really well. Do you know why she was suspicious? Because she'd been so sick with psoriasis, she was like a leper. She was covered in bleeding sores from here all the way to her feet. The whole body was covered in sores. It was one of the worst cases I've ever seen and probably will ever see. Absolutely bleeding from every part of her body. Bleeding. You could see the bleeding. You could see the flakes of skin. It was so bad that my wife had to vacuum the floor after she left. But here comes the interesting story. Even more interesting. I said, what's your medical history? She said, I've been seeing doctors since I was 14. She said, I've seen over 45 doctors, over 45. And I've also seen 7 skin specialists from Harley Street. 7. Some of these people were charging her £1,000 for 10 minutes. And guess what? She spent about over £60,000 in fees. And yet, the psoriasis got worse and worse because they keep giving her drugs. And it wasn't the answer. Now, in about 20 minutes of photographing her eyes and using my knowledge, my deep knowledge of iridology, I was able to pin down the condition of her body. I was able to work out that she had a tremendous amount of toxic waste in a column. And a lot of that toxic waste was residual of red meat. I'll repeat that, residual of red meat. She'd been eating red meat regularly for a long time. She couldn't digest it properly, and it was built up and got so bad inside the gut, it says, well, I've had enough of this. So it sent the rubbish, the waste, to the skin, and that's where the psoriasis was showing. Excuse me. And putting liniments and ointments, right, on the skin and to drive the psoriasis out is nothing worse than being absolutely badly treated. Because when you put the treatment and you put the lotions and potions and whatever on the skin, it can, for a while, it can look like if the psoriasis is gone. No, it hasn't gone. All the rubbish has gone back inside the body, and within a few days, as soon as the lotion wears out, it roars back out again because you haven't fixed the actual problem, what was causing the psoriasis in the first place. Well, guess what? Within 20 minutes, I found it. So we applied the treatment, right? We applied the right treatment, the correct treatment, the right pathway. She followed it. 8 weeks later, half the psoriasis dried up. 8 weeks after 45 years. 8 weeks later, the psoriasis dried up. 8 more weeks, the psoriasis dried up completely. Completely. Now, we were so happy with the result, we wrote a book. We wrote a small book about it. And you can get all of that book if you ring us or you find a link. It's a book on psoriasis treatment. There's photos of the actual pictures of before and after of this lady. That was one of the most spectacular treatments. 58 to 60,000 pounds in fees. It cost her less than 2,000 pounds to get our treatment and the supplementation for 6 months. All right? So that's how effective that was. Now, the second success story was a young lady who was a critical care nurse, and she was suffering from severe migraine, very, very severe migraines. And what was happening with her is that she was a critical care nurse, and she came to us via her father, who was a royal photographer. She came to us and she said, look, I've been to doctors in England, in Belgium, and in France, and they've looked at me and they think I've got a tumor in my brain. And she said, we've got to operate. We're going to have to drill into your brain and treat you that way. And being a critical care nurse, she was worried because she's seen the after effects of operations. So she said, no, I don't want my brain drilled. So her father said, go and see Ronald and Petrina. Go and see them. So she did. So we photographed her eyes. She was about 28, photographed her eyes, and we found the problem within 20 minutes. What she was doing, she was eating fried chicken and other waste, like bad foods like that, on a daily basis. What she was doing is going to work, tired of about 10-hour shift as a nurse, and then she was going up and buying chicken nuggets and things like that, and hamburgers, right? Well, that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So remember, 3 top doctors in 3 countries said, you got a tumor. We got to operate. When I looked in her eyes, what the tumor was shown in the eye, not as a tumor, but it was shown as a toxic deposit in the brain, caused from all this junk food. There was a toxic deposit in the brain. That was causing the migraines. Again, we applied the right treatment. We got her off the junk food, off the wrong drinks. Within about 6 weeks, the migraines were completely gone. After years of migraine, completely gone. She's now totally free of migraines, and she knows what caused the migraines in the first place, so she avoids it. So it was a spectacular. Imagine if she'd had her brain drilled in and there was no tumor. They couldn't have fixed the tumor. They couldn't fix anything. There was no tumor. Right? What it was toxic deposits from the wrong foods and the wrong drinks. The third one was a young man who had a tumor, came to us, presented with a tumor on the left thyroid. The tumor was so big, it was like a football, like an American football here. He was a big fellow, and the tumor was past his shoulder. It had exploded and kept growing. Imagine the shock when he woke up to that tumor. It was that big. And he was in a bad way. He did about 40 or 50 chemotherapy treatments. He lost about 50 pounds. And he was like going downhill fast. He was down a slippery slope. So, again, we used the iridology. We photographed his eyes. And I advised him to not have any more chemotherapies, because in his case, it was going to make him worse. Right? So again, we applied the treatment, and it was really, really very, very focused treatment. We showed him exactly what to do, exactly what to eat, exactly what to drink, exactly what to think. We even worked out the music you should be listening to and the books you should be reading. And guess what? 8 weeks later, the tumor shrunk by half. Shrunk by half. Another 8 weeks, the tumor completely went, except for a small residue here. It was like a little bump, like a little penny just here. Now, I applied what I call my secret recipe. all right, which I'll disclose another day. And I gave him that recipe, and I said, take that recipe daily, because we have to get rid of that last bit of tumor. Remember, that shrunk by half, and then it shrunk by half again. So it was like a penny just here, like a little bulging penny just here. It had shrunk by that much. Imagine his absolute relief of not dying, right? Now, so then, when I give him that little special recipe I've got, within about a month, the tumor completely went. He was free. He's been free from tumors, cancer now for over 4 years. 4 years. Nothing. He's now adopted a real fresh look in his life. He eats organic foods. He drinks the right juice. He doesn't smoke anymore, and so on and so on. And that is the third success story. I can tell you many more. So if you've got any tough cases, of any disease, for you or your family or your friends, call us, talk to us, and we can advise you the same way. And you'll have powerful results. Don't go down the medical route. If you go down that route, you're going to get drugs, and drugs. They do not know what to do as far as recovering fast. We do, because we have the experience. Massive experience. We are still doing trading at a late age because we want to help as many people as we can recover from all sickness, not just bad sickness, any sickness, whether it's flu, hay fever, colds, psoriasis, tumors, cancers, whatever we can help with reversing. So I hope you listen to that. And in the meantime, do yourself a favor, subscribe to this channel. And also there's a link for this book, ebook that I wrote. And I wrote that over 3 months. And it says, what your eyes can reveal about your health. Download this booklet. It might be a small book, but it's full of gems and wise diamonds. Read it, and then when you've read it, call us, and let's talk about your health. Thank you for listening.